What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast where cosplayers and photographers unite to talk about stuff. I'm your host, Ryan Sims, and today we're going to be chatting with the one and only Zack Attack Cosplay. This is Stitches and Lenses. Welcome to the first episode of Stitches and Lenses. We got Zack Santiago here, Zack Attack Cosplay. I am Ryan Sims, your host. And so, let's do this, man. What's up? So I guess we met at Dragon Con for like 20 seconds, like you said.
Yeah.
so it doesn't really
It was like a high and buy deal.
Yeah. But we, legit hung out all day at Holiday Matsuri, the event we have dubbed Hallmark because it was Hallmat at Mark's house. So at Hallmark 2019, we got to hang out all day, and so we did X-Men and the Bat Family and just all kinds of awesome, crazy stuff. What was your favorite part about that day?
Well, the Bat Family stuff was fun, but I don't get to like shoot Wolverine a lot, especially because it's like a newer costume.
Yeah.
And I think what was funny about it was watching you guys react to it, and just how I get into it so that I can give the best to the photographer. Watching that reaction was a lot of fun. Just kind of when everybody finally started filtering in, we all just kind of got stupid, and not like that stupid, but I think it was when we were all kind of like starting to wear into it, and we were all kind of having a little fun with it. I think it was the lull just in between all of that. I think is where I was really having fun with it because it wasn't packed, it wasn't hot, it wasn't cool, but it was a nice. I like the lulls. I'm a very boring guy, so I like when things are chill. So I enjoy that mid part where I got to be Wolverine for a little bit and be a little extra, and then you could see Tim off to the side feeding off of it, and Tim's like, all right, I'm gonna be Cyclops, ready. So I enjoy that. It was a good energy at that time, and the whole time was great energy. But I really enjoy that part, especially because you got some stupid good pictures. I got to chew on a cigar for the first time, which was weirdly spicy. I don't know if I'd do it again. I just thought it was funny. So that was an interesting point in the day, which I had fun with. It was a lot of fun.
Well, dude, man, you helped me come up with the name of this show.
I did. Yeah. I was like kind of shook. Usually people don't go with the first thing that comes out of my mouth. Usually, I'm not used to that.
Well, I'm very.
That was cool.
I'm very I'll just overthink stuff too much. And I was like, you know what? We're just going to go with the first thing that sounds good. And I was like, in our little Facebook Messenger, what should we call this show? And I think literally not even 60 seconds passed by. And you respond. You were the first person and probably the only person to respond back. And you were like, Stitches and Lenses. I'm like, that's the name of the show. Let's do it.
I remember I wasn't fully paying attention to anything, which is when I think the best. When I'm like... Outer Spaceman, sometimes my brain works the fastest, and I just remember you saying, like, oh, what should we call it? I was like, oh, Stitches and Lenses, duh. Like, camera, sewing, simple, right there. Simple. Why are you thinking about this? I don't know. It just, in my mind, I was like, Stitches. Because I was like, oh, fabrics and lenses or something like that, and I was like, oh, Stitches and Lenses. That sounds funny. There's almost an adult pun in there, too, like, Stitches and Lenses. Oh, what a bunch of stitches, this group of people. It sounds stupid, but I was like, it's so weirdly catchy, you know? Like, SNL, oh no, there's a trademark issue. SNL.
And yeah, speaking of, stitches and stuff like that, you make a lot of your own stuff, right?
Typically. I would say typically. I like collaborations, more or less, because it takes work off of my plate.
Yeah.
And it helps take work off of other people's plates. But I would say, yes, I do typically make a lot of my own stuff. And It took a while, but because I've been at it for a minute, but it took a while. But I would say at this point now, it's from head to toe, 100%. Everything I'm wearing typically is made by me. A good example would be the Flash suit right there. The mask, like the belts, the gloves, the boots, even the undershell was all stuff modified and worked on by me. So what I like is when you can collaborate with people. Mm-hmm. It works, when the people have the like mindset. An example is one of my best collaborators right now, somebody that I partner with heavily on a lot of projects, would be Reed's Effects.
Yeah.
And he's the madman that sculpted, molded, did all of this, like emblem, the muscle, every bit of the muscles. Um, this cowl is literally actually a work in progress. I'm the only one with this. And other people will have access to it eventually. But this isn't even a finished version of that. Like, and he is phenomenal though when it comes to just collaborating. And we kind of fall into that realm. There's never a compromise with each other on our projects. There's always like us pushing each other, or there's never even like, I don't know. It's a really good happy blend of the personalities.
Give me the 60-second rundown of Zack Santiago. Give me your 60-second life story.
I'm Puerto Rican. I was born in Queens, New York. That throws off a lot of people because I don't seem like it, but I am. I have an accent and everything. That's the best part. I'm a nerd, man. I like best way to really describe me from like day one to now. I just had a lot of people slap me in the back of the head really hard until I got better. I was into comic books growing up. I was into a lot of like tokusatsu things. So it's like the old school, even new school, like giant monsters, robot stuff. Superhero comics. I even had an uncle that worked at Marvel for a hot minute. And I also come from a very artistic and expression family. So I had an interesting growing up. I worked in a workshop doing cabinetry and stuff like that. As I got older, that's how I grew up. So I've always had creative input in my life. And as I got older, I started harnessing more of that talent. My mom and my grandmother started teaching me new things outside of woodworking. I started doing sewing. As I got further out into high school, I found myself really wanting to do more creative stuff, fabrication-wise, because I was doing a lot of artwork and a lot of secondhand, like freelance, like Photoshop work, or, I still draw. I just don't draw as often, but I did a lot of like pencils, a couple of ink jobs and stuff like that, but nothing fancy or crazy. And I still do commissions here and there, but only at conventions for my buddies. Just as I got older and things kind of fell into place, and now I'm kind of here. Like, I've always liked dressing up as a kid. There never was a point in my life where I was like, I'm going to be a cosplayer. In fact, there was a lot of points where I was like, cosplayers are stupid. Don't ever make this a profession. Don't ever. This is nothing. And here I am being a hypocrite. If I could go back and punch myself in the face, I would. Guaranteed for a lot of things. But it was all that kind of stuff that just kind of let out. There really wasn't a starting point. I get asked that a lot. And the longer I think about it, I'm like, there never was a starting point. It was just a refining point, really.
So let's say there's somebody who's new to the cosplay community.
I'm so sorry. That's the first thing I'm going to say. I'm so sorry.
What is something cool that they can look forward to? What do you love about the cosplay community?
Oh, well, I mean, once you get over all the speed humps, because the whole first couple of roads is just bump after bump after bump. I'll use bodybuilding terms. So you get beginner gains. Your first 4 weeks is phenomenal beginner gains, right? You're going to, like, people are going to, oh, yeah, good, encouragement, because they know you're new. Step one, be ready for some of the most negative feedback you're ever going to hear in your life. From cosplayers and non-cosplayers. End of story. You kind of have to, it sounds mean. I don't mean this in a mean way, but it's like you got to build a thick enough skin to know when to pick your battles and to know when it's going to be worth being upset and when it's not going to be worth being upset. Because at the end of the day, as generic and as cheesy as it's going to sound, have fun. If you're having fun, who cares? But don't have fun at somebody else's expense, because if you do, I'll drop kick you in the throat. There's a lot of glamorization. It's like, so you go on bodybuilding Instagram accounts, and it's just glamorization of like these bodybuilders, right? And you see these big guys, and they're like, they're about to pound this 20-pound stack of pizza. And you're thinking, oh my God, so if I just, pump up enough a lot like that, I could do that and have no issue. Nah, man, there's a lot of glamorization of things. And I tell people, just be careful what's glamorized sometimes. A lot of people seek the attention. A lot of people seek this. A lot of people seek that. I would say the first step is have fun with it first. Have your fun with it. Really find where you're going to fit into things. Because sometimes it just won't be the right shoe for you. You can find yourself being like, I'm gonna try to be a DC Marvel comic books cosplayer, and it might not work out for you. You find out later that you're bigger into comic books I'm sorry, like bigger into manga or anime, and you're like, you know, as much as I love comic books, man, I have more fun identifying with this. I'm going to kind of approach that. Or you might be like, you know, as fun as these things were, it's really difficult, stressful. I don't feel as fulfilled as maybe I'm going to do with this video game character, you know? Everybody finds their niche, and I would say take your time looking for that niche. Niche, there we go. You can find your niche. It takes time. Have fun with it first. Enjoy the little moments, because sometimes you're going to lose them. And don't ever let go of those little moments. You hold on to the better moments, because there's going to be a lot of bad moments. It's just like any community out there. It's like sports. It's like weightlifting. It's like video games. It's like whatever community you think is out there. They're all the same at the end of the day. You're just changing the template of what the community is about. So it should be no shocker that there's going to be a lot of negative people, but there's a lot of phenomenal people that I can say that I consider family at this point in my life. How stupid fun it is. It's so fun. When you do it, I would say when you find it, when you find your little niche, it is so stupid fun. Because you're just, at the end of the day, somebody's going to come up to you. And the best feeling ever. And I take pride in it, is you'll either wear something somebody doesn't like. It's always my favorite reaction. I've done this. I've had this happen handful of times where somebody just comes up, man, I hate this in the comics. I hate how this looks. Well, oh my God, in person, on a person, moving in real life, it looks so good. I hate that you made me like this. And I'm like, you're welcome. It's fun sometimes to get that response. And I would say there's no better response than somebody legitimately telling you that you made their day. And that's the best feeling. Round the board. It's when somebody comes up and goes, seeing you as this thing made my day. Have fun with it. Don't do it at anybody's expense. I'll punch you in the throat. I've done it. I have very much done it. But have fun with it. That's the big rule. Have fun with it. I'm sorry, but have fun with it. Have fun with it. Don't do it at somebody's expense. That's when I'll have a problem.
Can't stress that enough.
Oh, dude, I cannot. I say it every day. I have to remind myself, don't do it, man. Don't do it. No, stop. Okay.
Let's shift gears for a second and let's talk about your work. I know that you do a little bit of stunt work, some acting, did some stuff at Universal. Yeah. Let's expound on that. Let's talk about that for a second.
So we're here. I'll give you that much. I can't give you that much. I'll give you that much.
Okay.
There's paperwork that says if I talk too much, they'll stab me in my sleep.
Oh, okay.
With a wizard stick. I've always done a lot of extra work, just kind of getting the crap beat out of me, and like, you know, I think when I was young, I took to martial arts. Everybody watched Power Rangers when they were a kid, and when somebody tells me they didn't, I think they're lying, but it's true. It's just you know, I grew up. I mentioned it earlier, where I was like, you know, Bruce Lee, stuff like that. So my brother and I, as we grew up, just kind of got really into a lot of choreography with like fighting and stuff like that. And, it's led us into a couple of situations in our youth. So the stunt work has just always kind of been a thing for me. I've always liked, you know, when you're kids, you do stupid things. You're riding your brother's bike and you try to jump off of it, or you try to, like, I don't know, jump off of the second story of the staircase that you're standing on and look like Spider-Man when you do it. I don't think there is a kid out there who doesn't do that, and I think I just didn't grow out of it. And I joke around with people all the time. I'm like, I'm really hard to kill. I've been hit by cars. I've been stabbed. And I'm not glorifying these things, by the way. They're all stupid things that have happened, highly avoidable. They should have never happened. But you know, I just never grew out of it. And under the tutelage of others, and just obsessively learning and studying where I can, and just asking questions from friends that do it professionally. And until eventually I was given more professional opportunities, I never grew out of it. And it's a constantly learning and growing kind of process. But I'm a boring stuntman. I'm really good at not dying, so I'm really good at pushing off of things. And, like, you know, you snap my neck, but I make it look really extra sometimes. But I'm a boring stuntman. I can't trick. I can't flip to save my life. I have no momentum in the air. When you're like, I need this guy to do like a triple back tuck, and then I need you to throw a gainer into this guy's throat, and then I need you to get shot. So we're gonna set you up with a little bit of blood packs. We're gonna pop that right off you as soon as you land that gainer, and then I'm gonna need you to do like a triple McVarial backwards into this box set over here. And I'm like, nope. You want me to kick the guy in the throat and get shot? I can do that. I can do that. I can't do all the other things. So I would say I'm a boring stuntman, but I'm really proficient with weaponry. I've been graced with the opportunity to do some firearm stuff and do some really cool weapon stuff. From there's a fly with like bow staff work and different like weaponry. A joke about Ninja Turtles, but I would or would not say that I've had experience working with the Ninja Turtles in a professional degree. And it was a lot of fun. So you could say I was proficient with double katanas for about 5 years. So it was really cool.
Yes.
It's a fun job. It's very fulfilling to know that you can help bring that magic. I've done more in live in person stuff, which is that's really tough. I mean, kudos to the guys on the film set all day, sitting around waiting, just waiting, like until they go, okay, we're gonna do it different. We need you to fall off the pad that's now gonna be 3 feet lower, and you're like, all right, man, Jesus, take the wheel. Kudos to those guys. They're very talented. They're very patient. They're very professional. But I would say I particularly have done more of the live show experience stunt work, which is fun, very stressful. A lot of my gray hairs came from that. Having a very high powered set of TNT between my legs, or something aimed at my face, or vice versa. Or I mean, I would say there was a show I was doing once that. We're on a glorified mine. It's like a glorified minefield. And once the grid goes down, those can fire off at any point. It's very scary. It's very traumatizing. And I have acrophobia, which is hysterical because I had to come off a slide 45 feet above an audience. So there was a lot of stuff going on. It's fun. It's very fulfilling. I'm not an adrenaline junkie in the least bit. I just love being able to perform for people. I love being able to bring that fantasy to reality for some people.
Speaking of stunt work and getting to act and getting to do all these really cool things, there's some really cool voices and impressions that you've shown off a little bit, especially when we were at Hallmark at that event. I know I was thoroughly entertained by some of them. What are some fun impressions you could hit us up with? Ones that some of your favorites that you really like.
I try to implement impressions into each like costume. I've had Kevin Conroy tell me I was a pretty good Batman voice. That was pretty neat. I would say he was being nice. It was after I walked away and I was still within earshot that he was complimenting me to his handler, and I was like, and then I ugly cried for 20 minutes because it was just a cool experience. That's really tough. Give me something. I don't know. Give me something you want to hear. Give me something you think is worth showing off.
Given the fact that we were talking about fitness earlier, there was a moment where you and I've actually got a clip of it, and I may go ahead, like, play the clip from Hallmark just for this interview so people could see it, see what I saw, and it was so good. But it was of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Tasty feeling, you know. It's very good, you know. I like to have a good Cuban stogie. It's a good feeling. Everybody is fantastic. I love it. So everything was very fine and colorful and you know. Come on, sing, everyone!
You know, give me, like, for example, I want you to give me a topic, and I'll deliver it as Arnold, like Arnold's viewpoint of this topic, or how would Arnold, you know, whatever. Like, give me a topic, and then I'll just respond as Arnold.
About how you shouldn't eat donuts before working out.
You know, a lot of people ask me, you know, I'm just listening, you know, how do you know, deal with not wanting to eat a donut? It's very simple. I never eat a donut, so I don't know if I'm losing out because I don't really care. A lot of people, you know, oh, well, you know, I like to eat carbohydrates and carbo load before the workout, but it's very amateur, you know. You don't want to fill your body with sugar and unnecessary processed fats, you know, so it's not something that I would really recommend to people. Don't eat donuts. It's very simple. You know, when you're pumping the iron, Who do you want? The donut to come back up, or do you want to just push the muscle and let the muscle grow? You know, I'm working on the 6-pack for beer, not donuts. You get a 12-pack for donuts. You don't get an 8-pack with a 6-pack for beers and donuts.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. Ah, that's great. Oh man. I'm trying to think of what else I heard that day. I mean, obviously you did a great Wolverine because, you know, that's what we photographed you as.
Yeah, I love Wolverine. So the first time I ever got to Wolverine was actually the Dragon Con you and I like met in like passing, and I love it because I don't do a typical Wolverine, but it's usually the growls that get people. They're like, "Can I get a picture? Can you like do the X and look real angry?" And I'll be like, and they're like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna leave now because that man just growled at me." And I think it works because I think anybody else that would growl would be mildly cringe. I cringe when somebody growls because I'm like, I think it works because it's the antagonistic nature of the growl.
There you go.
That I like. That's why English is not my first language. I apologize. But I like the growl because it's Wolverine's gruff, you know.
Yeah, I remember
So,
you talking
that,
about that, and yeah, just kind of analyzing what a wolf was like. And
yeah. Oh, yeah. I just grew up with my dad weirdly playing like wolf sounds. He would sit us down and be like, "Oye, que I need you to listen to the music, okay? Y también listen, okay? Y tell me what you see." And you just be listening. You have all these like wolf noises. So I grew up with like weird amounts of that because my dad's a weirdo. But I grew up with that, and you know, it just again, it's all these weird things that happen, and eventually they all just turned into like a fine point. It was just threaded the needle and everything, and I was like, all right, that's it. It's just I'm gonna be a culmination of every weird experience I've had as a kid, and here I am.
I also know that you do an amazing Stewie Griffin. I've got to hear at least one or two lines from that.
Okay, Brian. So listen, listen, Brian. I'm gonna need you to give me my money. Yeah. You're gonna have to give me my money, Brian. You got $5 for a mustache. You got money for me. So let's say like 3 o'clock tomorrow, and nothing bad will happen. Yeah. All right. No, I'm just messing with you, Brian. I love this guy.
Oh, that's so good, man. I'm over here dying. This is great.
Yeah, I love stupid voices like that. Like I could do a majority of the Family Guy cast. I got a lot of people asking me to do like Joe. I'll be like, Peter, I gotta talk to you about the helicopter in my parking area. It's not that great when I'm trying to do it as a Joe. It's better when it's Kronk, you know, like boys are for Cusco, Cusco's boys, especially Joseph Cusco. Peter's a fun one too because everybody's like, oh, actually, it's an easy one to do when you're like, can you do a New England accent? They speak at Griffin. Yeah, I would love to do cosplay, but you know, it's for the weirdos. You know, and you know, I would do Star Trek, maybe Darth Vader, but I don't like Darth Vader. It's Boba Fett, yeah, Boba Fett.
That's so great. It's so uncanny, man. That's great. That's fantastic.
I love that voice.
So I am going to send you a picture real quick.
Okay.
So I've done a deep dive on your Instagram.
I'm scared.
And I pulled up a picture. I need you to give me a little bit more context for this.
Oh man.
For this image here.
Oof.
This Wolverine that looks a little bit like Mickey Mouse.
Accurate, man. I think that was 2008. I wore that costume.
No.
Oh boy! Oh man! Hurts every time. That was a costume that was on loan from a friend at the time. It was at a MetroCon. Ironically, I think I bumped into Scott McNeil that weekend, who was the voice of that specific Wolverine. I've always been trying to cosplay Wolverine, but it just never worked. And that was kind of the first ever time I wore a costume with the mask and everything. And I remember like doing it, like I felt bad because it was one of those costumes that looked cool, and then you looked at it up close and it fell apart. And unfortunately, that's kind of what happened when I was wearing it. So it was a lot of like fine tuning what was going on here, I was 150 pounds. I think I was like 160, honestly. I was real not in the shape that I'm in now. I think I wore that costume to Dragon Con also. And yeah, just cool costume. It's from X-Men Evolution. I love that design actually. I don't like the execution of that costume. And it's not to say anything disparaging about the seamstress, because I actually am friends with the woman who made it. And it didn't fit well for me. The guy who did the prop works on it is not a really a highlight worthy kind of guy. And so that was just an interesting time. And so it was my first time ever walking around at a convention, ever being Wolverine. I had a set of claws, they fell apart, stuff like that. It was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. I don't regret it. I cringe when I look at it, but I guess if you can't look back and cringe at yourself, you didn't learn anything, did you?
I'm going to ask you a series of questions now, and you just let me know what you think, man. Favorite superhero? I know, right? It's hard.
Green Lantern literally was the first word that came to my head. I'll be true to this. Green Lantern was the first word that came to my head.
Why?
The idea of a character that's driven entirely by willpower. He has the most powerful tool in the universe. It's not just one, but many. No one Green Lantern is truly greater than the next, even though there is, the idea of Sinestro being the greatest Green Lantern of all. And I agree. I love Sinestro. But it's this wonderful mythos, and just that it's not the Green Lantern comics exist in the DC universe, but man, the DC universe sometimes has zero bearing on what's happening in the Green Lantern universe. So it's sometimes you can go through the whole Green Lantern universe and realize, oh my god, what did I miss on Earth? And there's just some really cool, unique characters. Everybody with the same powers coming at the powers differently. And it's wonderful. I love it.
So, having said that, DC or Marvel?
Crap. I love Marvel. I think Marvel just falls flat sometimes. It's not to say DC isn't without its faults, but I would say the bigger comic book collection I have right now is DC related.
Favorite movie?
Hook. Hook was always my favorite movie. It's the first word that came to my mind, Hook. I love that movie. I grew up on that movie. It's my feel-good movie. I've had a lot of traumatic experiences happen in my life, and the first thing that I would ever put in the DVD player would be Hook. My VHS for that movie was burned to the point that I watched it so many times. I love that movie. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's Steven Spielberg's biggest regret." I don't care. I love that movie. I love the idea of Neverland. I love the idea of how that movie came to life. I love things like Star Wars and all that stuff, but I would say that is the movie that has always pulled me out of myself.
What about favorite TV show?
Reboot. It's a fun, really good show. I love that show. I finally introduced my girlfriend to it, and she was like, "This is actually a really cool show." I love Reboot. I wouldn't say number one, but that's one of the words that came to my mind pretty quickly. Reboot is definitely a show that I would say I loved. I would put it up there though in my top 10, guaranteed. I love that show. If I could have it on Blu-ray, I would. Actually, I think it is on Blu-ray. I gotta look for that.
What about favorite con? What's your favorite con to go to, man?
Dragon Con. End of story. Okay. That's it. No more talking.
What about favorite food, man?
Pizza. I love pizza. I love tacos, but I love pizza.
Can't go wrong. Man. Can't go wrong.
I love pizza. It might be the New Yorker in me, but I just straight up love pizza. If there's ever food I destroy coming out of a diet, every time I've come off of a diet, pizza has been my go-to. Pizza's just, I love pizza. I survived Dragon Con on pizza and sushi. And if I'm gonna die, I want a piece of pizza in my hand as I'm buried.
What kind of, what style?
Pepperoni. New York style.
New York style.
I love the giant slices. When you fold it, it's just all the goo, and it's just, Yeah, Brian. This is good. We're all good here. It's good vibes.
It's good vibes.
Have a good time, Brian. Yeah. I'm just gonna do this and just tell people to stop. Wow.
Well, dude, that pretty much wraps it up, man. Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
What's your favorite moment of shooting with me?
What's your favorite moment? Dude, I honestly, I think my favorite moment of shooting with you was definitely Wolverine. Because I've always loved Wolverine. He's always been one of my favorite comic book characters. Yeah, dude. The moment you put it on, had the claws and the growl, I was like, all right, This is what we came for.
Well, I'm happy to know that.
Yeah,
I'm glad I can contribute to that. I know you shot some Wolverines in the past too, so that's a little flattering. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's very humbling.
Yeah,
Thank
man. We got some really cool stuff yet to
We
come.
do.
So.
We do. I know. There's that butt shot. No. No, it's cool. I would say, a lot of photographers, I've even had a small history with photography. I think every photographer has something they always want to shoot in terms of like their white whale. And you are very well known in the photography community for being such a wonderful guy to work with. You're very easygoing. You're very fun. You're very charismatic. And at this point, you could have almost any cosplayer you really wanted. What is your like white whale edit photo cosplayer combination? What of all the things you could mush together and get like the thing that's going to make you? Doesn't matter how many people are going to like it at the end of the day. The thing that you can literally sit on your deathbed and be like, I don't regret this.
That's fantastic, man. That's a fantastic question. I don't know if I have just one, but man, I could tell you a whole slew of things that I want to do. I can definitely tell you.
Okay, good, because I'll figure it out and we'll collaborate.
I will say that the things that captivate me the most, well, for one, I mean, I think it just kind of goes without saying, anything that you can just look at and just be like, and it like takes your breath away. I mean, the moment you see it, you're just like, that transcends photography. That's just artwork at this point. Like, I think all of those are super cool. But I have always thought it's polar opposites, right? It's either go big or it's like super minimalist. Like the very, very simple, there's hardly anything to it, but it's just so dynamic and breathtaking, and the lighting's just right and everything. And it's like, it doesn't take any, I won't say it doesn't take skill, but I'm just saying it's just that moment, something that you just captured, and it didn't really take a whole lot of editing. It's just like, boom, there it is. And it's just breathtaking. That's one end of the spectrum. But for me, like when you're just going big and just going all out, it would have to be like some epic war scene, like Avengers Endgame big, where like all of these heroes are fighting like this big like, either whether it's DC and there's like Dark Side, there's some epic battle.
So Hallmark 2020
or Doomsday.
We'll take notes.
Something, and I'll tell you this, it would have to be something that would really push me, as a digital artist. Something that would have to involve pretty much like CG. Like I would have to go into like a 3D modeling program, light it a certain way, incorporate 3D generated stuff into like cosplay, and just create this epic scene. But if I'm being absolutely honest, it may not even be cosplay related. Like it may just be something that, like, if I were to enter this into like a competition that WPPI or the PPA was holding and like I won, like that's a huge deal. If people ask, what's your favorite shot? I'm like, I haven't shot it yet. So
that's fair. So, okay. What is your favorite shot that you have done to date?
If I had to pick, it's so hard to pick a favorite, but I will say that the first thing that pops to my mind is the first X-Men edit that we did from Hallmark. That and the Bat Family for Christmas. Like
I love them.
Visually, I feel like my eye is drawn to the X-Men one because it's all the color palettes, right? You've got blue in there for Cyclops. You got the red with his blast. You've got Magneto and those blue powers. You've got yellow with Wolverine. You've got green with Rogue. You've got, and then the explosion and the dramatic sky. So all of these visually, stunning colors. It's eye drawing. But I think the story behind the Bat Family one is just so cool. It has so many layers to it that I didn't even know while I was creating it. I was unfolding it, and even after it was created, people were revealing things to me. Like I was like, okay, I've got this idea, and I've kind of got like, I'm kind of borrowing this idea from Pinterest, but like I'm kind of working off this thing of like, okay, Batman's at the top. It's almost like everybody that Batman's ever trained is kind of like almost working up to this person that maybe they've idolized, or maybe they want to replace, or maybe they depending on their storyline. You know, it's like if it's Red Hood, then maybe he won't seem out of the way, or you know, if it's Robin, it's like, you know, this is someone, you know, maybe I look up to, that's a father figure. Or if it's like, you know, in Dick Grayson, it's like, but I also kind of hate him at the same time, you know, or and so we were working on that, but then I was like, ooh, but what if we add snow to it? That'll be really, really cool. And then as I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, what if we were inside of a snow globe? It's December, it's going around Christmas. We could turn this into Christmas themed. And then my wife started writing this like the Dark Night Before Christmas, and this like really dark, eerie take on, you know, the whole like Christmas story. I'm like, this is even better. And then as we're doing it, and like I'm showing like Mark Robars, he's like, dude, it even kind of looks like a Christmas tree. I'm like, I didn't even plan that. I'm like, it's so good.
What would you say to photographers coming into the fold, new, green collared, and just that they feel intimidating? What would you say to help remind them that you and all these other people that may be hella experienced or just as new as them, what would be your advice to those suffering that self-doubt, that fear, that beginner's nervousness?
Yeah, you're not alone. You know, I still feel that way. You know what I mean? I still feel inadequate in most of everything I do. I'm definitely my own worst critic. Like, no one kicks my butt like I do. I most of the time look at my stuff like it's not good enough. You know, I most of the time look at other people's work, like Brian, like Victoria, like Tristan, like JS Cosplay, just a whole handful of everybody, and just be like, man, you know, I wish I would have shot that. I didn't. You know what I mean? And it's like, and even though I feel like, yeah, like I have the know-how to do it or to recreate it, it's just like, man, you know, that's such an amazing image, and it's like, and I still get just intimidated. So I'm not gonna pretend like, you know, I don't feel that way and that like that ever goes away. But I think there's a point where instead of allowing that to just kind of bring you down, you just kind of use it as a motivation, not only just like to get better, but too in the fact that we're really all in this together, and it's such a great thing. So I had like a 4-hour conversation the other day with David Bird of Reality Reimagined. If you've never seen his work before, his work is absolutely stellar. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. He does amazing work, and not just cosplay, but just all around. It's he does artwork. Like, he does artwork, straight artwork. With Dustin Volkema. A lot of people may not know Dustin Volkema because I think he's like, I want to say it's Ohio, but he is probably one of the greatest like photographer, digital artists like that I know. I feel like all of these people that I'm mentioning right now are better than me, and I'm so thankful to consider these people friends because we chat on a regular basis. But he's been pushing me to want to get into 3D and to incorporate that kind of stuff, and because he's just like phenomenal at it. I mean, I could sit here and just brag about him all day long, but I mean, like, just take my word for it. His work speaks for itself. Like, the guy is one of the best. So it was me, David, Dustin, and Mario Olvera. Mario is the guy who created Oniric for Photoshop. Has worked with Photoshop. It has been featured in every kind of thing you could ever think about. So clearly just is one of the greatest photographers and digital artists in the world. Us four guys are chatting in this room, and we all said it. We all said it. It's like, you know, like we're all climbing this mountain together, and no one person is greater than the other. It's like we're all trying to reach this same, you know, we're all trying to reach the top. And some of us might have a little bit more experience in rock climbing, you know what I mean? But but we're all like at the same level on the mountain. And, you know, maybe one person has advice, oh, maybe not grab there, maybe grab here, you know. And David did such a wonderful job of explaining that, and I feel like I'm butchering it.
When I teach, I tell people, though, because it's something I had to remind myself as I kept trying to grow as a professional. I would get down because I would see other people that I admired or people who were succeeding, and I felt like, you know, we make our own reality, right, in our minds every day. And I would see them and say, oh, you know, this person's succeeding more, this person's making more, they've achieved more because they get to teach here, or they get to do this job, or whatever, right? But I learned, and I tell people at conferences, that we are all climbing a mountain. Mario's climbing a mountain, Dustin, you're climbing a mountain, Brian, you're climbing a mountain, I'm climbing. We're all climbing. None of us, in my opinion, are above any of us. Nobody's higher up on the mountain. We're all climbing. I can look over to my left and see each one of you, and we're all climbing. But every now and then, one of us learns, hey, that rock right there, that's a better handhold. And you can either grab that handhold and keep going, and other people can watch and see and trust the handhold in front of them, or you can teach people, hey, this handhold, that next one, grab that one, not that one over there. That'll get you up the next step in the climb. And I think it makes it, I mean, I will always aspire to be better than what I am, not because of the other people that I see, but ultimately, like you, Dustin, I get up almost every morning, I make coffee, I sit down in front of Photoshop and edit a photo for no reason, just simply to do the work. And most of the time, I will force myself to do something that I don't know how to do. And most of the time it does not work, and I get pissed off and send messages to people saying, how the hell do you do blank? And then they say, hit photo merge, right? So the whole point of pushing yourself, that instant gratification, that instant need, I think is born out of a simple fear that they're afraid to try. And they keep looking at any one of us, anybody that we admire. They look at Joel Grimes. Joel Grimes I followed forever and a day. Yeah, I got into compositing in 2011 because of Joel Grimes. And I watched the guy do stuff. He lives here in Phoenix. And I watched the guy do stuff for years that innovates and changes. At the same time, I see him way the hell up there, but also he's right next to me on this same climb of the mountain. And the more that I can do that, the more that I can realize that instant gratification will never be the answer, because ultimately we have to question our fear of learning. We have to question our fear of trying and failing, so that when you realize Joel Grimes, all four of us are the same in that regard, I think it helps dispel the fear and then enables us to go, what happens if I do use dissolve, which nobody uses dissolve because it's a pile of trash, right? But when you use it for the first time and go, oh, wait, when it clicks, because you understand why things work in Photoshop, you're able to produce the results you're looking for.
YouTube, for me, it was my biggest fear is not necessarily failure, but my biggest fear was the fear of vulnerability. It was the fear of getting on YouTube and saying, hey, I don't know everything. I don't know it all. You know, like.
But sometimes I just get like demotivated because of that, because instead of feeling like motivated about their work, I compare myself to other ones. So I think you have to compare yourself like positively, you know, instead of comparing yourself like negatively, because if you compare yourself like positively, you will feel motivated with their work instead of feeling envy, you know, because that happens to me a lot that lately, like if I'm not doing, if I'm not creating, I'm gonna feel envy from the other ones. If I'm creating, I'm gonna feel motivated from other ones, you know.
But the point is to say that, like, you know, they're Dustin, as Dustin said, like there comes a point where you become a little bit self-aware of you, what your, you know, capabilities are as far as your talent is, what your downfalls are. It doesn't become a competition anymore. It becomes like, how can we all help each other get better? You know, because maybe this person isn't experienced or knowledgeable in Photoshop. You know, well, I wasn't either, you know, a couple of years ago, and I had to work to get there, and maybe I can make that person's journey a little bit easier than it was for me, because, like, you know, I had to, like, you know, scour Google and YouTube, or, like, you know, find photographers that I really admired, and I would buy their workshops, or I would do this, and you have people that you admire, but then over time you kind of take the things that you learn and you kind of figure out, okay, this is my style. I'm kind of coming into my own, into what I think my style is and who I am. But we all got to start somewhere. And I feel like if there's a person out there who has the the will and the drive to want to continue and not quit, they're going to figure that stuff out anyway. So why not be that person who helps them get there quicker? You know what I mean? Like, why let them go through all of that alone when you can help them out? And like, dude, like, you don't know it all. It's like they can help you with stuff. It's so crazy because, like, you know, I've like color grading in Photoshop, in Photoshop composites. I've got my way of doing it, and then here comes along Dustin with like a YouTube video, 60 seconds, completely changes the way I color grade. I'm like, I would have never thought of that, and it's so much easier, and it's so much better than what I've been doing, and just little things like that. And so I think it's really, really cool to speak with other photographers, because some of these people that we idolize as far as like how amazing they are, they have the same insecurities. They bleed red and they poop brown. You know what I mean? They're human beings, and that's one thing that we all said. That's one thing that we all said, is that we understand what people mean when they say it, but we really kind of hate it when they say it. It's like, oh, you're like this Photoshop god or something like that. I'm like, dude, well, first of all, there's only one God, and it's not me. But like he
doesn't dress like that.
yeah, he doesn't dress like that.
I get that reference.
Yeah. So like, so yeah, like they make it out to be like you're more than what they are. You know, it's like, dude, like I'm a human being, like, you know, that still has anxiety and like worries about stuff. So like, I'm not better than you, man. Like, don't lift me up to be in this pedestal, especially one I could never fulfill. But yeah, it's like they make it out, you know, like you're something higher than you are. I'm like, dude, don't lift me up to some pedestal, because I mean that makes me somehow better than you, and I'm not better than you. You know, and I appreciate the sentiment behind it, but I feel like it just kind of takes it to an extreme when they say that, because everything that I've learned, like, sure, I may have like a natural act for it, natural talent or not, like without hard work, it doesn't go anywhere. I have seen people work harder than people with natural talent and be better than them. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like my high school art class is a great example of that. But yeah, man, I attended a free webinar the other day by Joel Grimes, who was actually the photographer who really introduced me to composite photography, that it was even a thing. But I attended a free webinar from him the other day, and he said two things that were just super, super practical. You go to towns like, say, Nashville or Orlando or California, and you see here at the top, there's normally like 5 main people that you can say, here are the 5 people that I think are the best in this field or whatever, and they get a lot of work, and you see their work and everything like that. And for one, yeah, it may be because they put in the time, they put in the experience, and they've done all this other stuff. But it's also because 95% of photographers quit. Like, over time, they just quit. And the number one piece of advice that he had was, just don't quit. Don't quit. If you don't quit, you're going to outlast the majority of the people who are doing this stuff. And as you're doing that, you're going to continue to grow and continue to learn and continue to get better. And just like, don't quit. Don't get discouraged. You know, like, he is a world-renowned photographer, and he has had his portfolio just like completely destroyed by people before, and just like, oh, this is horrible and all that stuff. And like, you look at him and where he is right now, and you're just like, I could never imagine anybody would say this to you. I guess I would just say, just don't be discouraged. You know, don't be discouraged and don't give up. You know, because even the best of the best, whoever those people may be, they more than likely feel the same way, and they more than likely view those other photographers and feel intimidated too, you know. But I think there's a difference between intimidation and motivation. And even though I still get intimidated by other photographers, I've heard enough from them, the same things that I'm saying now, that it's being turned more into motivation, because now I know, hey, I've got a friend and an advocate in this person, because they know what it's like. You know, and so, and most of the time when you approach that person, whoever that photographer is, like, I can't talk to any celebrity on Instagram or on Facebook or anything like that, but I guarantee you, no matter how big the photographer is, like, they always respond. Like, Lindsay Adler is probably like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, like fashion photographer in the world. And if I message her, she responds. You know what I mean? Or Jordan, you know, or any of these people, or Mario. Like Mario is like, I would consider Mario a friend because Mario considers me a friend, and I just think that's so cool because like years ago I was just like, I want to be like this dude. You know what I mean? It's like, and now we're buddies. You know, and it's just such a cool thing.
I know that feeling.
It's a really cool it's a cool thing. So yeah, just don't be discouraged and don't quit. Yeah.
That's good advice. Like that is, I mean, you said it better than I could have. Even for people that would be coming into cosplay, it'd be the same thing I tell them. You know, other than the other half of what I said earlier. I think that's really great advice. I've even watched you kind of give that advice and watch it, how it affected others, who are in themselves, you know, doubting and questioning their own amazing talents. So I think that right there, you know, is a phenomenal bit of advice. You know, it's the analogy of all of us working together, climbing a mountain, and trying to, you know, we're just helping each other at that point because we're all linked through a chain of the same love and passion. So I think that's a great response. I think hopefully anybody watching this, if you are a photographer, or even if you're a cosplayer, if there's something out there that you're truly attached to, that what he just said resonates with you. And if it does, run with it, man. That's great advice. I love that advice. And it's humbling, and it's really cool to kind of see you, somebody that is held within a very high regard within, you know, the cosplayer photography community. You have a phenomenal reputation. Again, you know, you're very, very fun to work with. You're very charismatic. You're quick. You know the shot. You know the lighting. You understand the science. And you make it so much easier for the cosplayer to be themselves and highlight the phenomenal work of a cosplayer's costume, whether they bought it or they made it, you know. So to hear somebody, you, in your shoes, feel that same insecurity that somebody that maybe just ordered their first costume online, or their first, you know, they went into Target or they went into Best Buy and bought their first Nikon or something, you know, and that to hear that you feel the same way that they're feeling with those butterflies in their stomach, it's very real, you know. And that to hear about these other people that are just industry pros and, you know, the elites, really, to hear that they feel that way is very, very comforting. And I would hope others hear it and think to themselves, you know, yeah, you know, because it's hard to beat self-doubt. It's hard.
Well, that was our show. Thank you so much, Zach, for doing this awesome interview. It's our first show, man.
That's a chunky conversation to cut.
We're at 2 hours and 16 minutes right now, so. And
Lord.
That's not including probably the 2 hours and 16 minutes we talked before we started recording.
Yeah, I know.
But man, we did it. It's the first episode.
Yeah.
Sweet. No one better to have than Zack Attack, who helped me come up with the name. So let us know what you think. You can drop a comment. Let us know what you'd like to see or talk about next. Thank you so much, Zach, for being my first guest on the show. And looking forward to next time, sir.
Same. Very much looking forward to it.